નમસ્તે, હું આદર્શ છું. વેલકમ ટુ આદર્શ એજ્યુકેશન સોસાયટી.
Hello students, today we are going to learn standard 6th subject English unit number 4th trash to treasure. As you know student, in our previous video we completed activity number 1st and 2nd. Now today we have to do activity number 3rd onward. In activity number 1st, we studied about a portrait. Which type of things is used in this portrait? We make a list. Now, after that, activity number 2nd is our lesson's main part. A new dish, part 1, we completed about Maharaja of Travancore. Now, activity number 3rd is based on activity number 2nd. So, let's start our activity number 3rd. In the story, the nude is two people speak. In the story, we studied in activity number 2nd, the nude is part 1. Here in that story, two people speak. As you noticed that things, do you notice that things? Two people are talking with each other. First one is there, Maharaja of Travancore, and second one is the head cook. Can you understand, student? Now based on that, we have to do activity number 3rd. The king asked the head cook, "What are you going to do with all those vegetable scraps?" Here in that speech, the king asked, who asked? The king asked to whom? The head cook. The head cook. Okay? The king asked the head cook, "What are you going to do with all those vegetable scraps?" Then the head cook replied that they are waste, sir. We will throw them away. The cook replied. Here who replied? The cook replied. Now what's happened? Next thing. Now king speak. "We should not waste all these vegetables," the Maharaja said. "Find a way to use them," he commanded. Here one little speech, little talking between Maharaja and the head cook is given. Based on that, what we have to do? How does the punctuation show you that the character is speaking and asking a question? Can you notice that punctuation mark which is used in that speech? They are character speaking, and sometimes they asking questions, sometimes they speaking in assertive sentences. So all the punctuation mark you have to notice in that speech. Notice and copy all the quotation marks and question marks for the character's question. Here all the speech you have to copy here. You have to see and write here in that box given. So started like that. The king asked the head cook, then quotation mark, punctuation mark, inverted comma, all the things we have to do completely, and we have to write here in that space given. Now what's happened? After completing that written work, now what we have to do? Show your sentence to classmate. Here you completed all the sentence, question mark, quotation mark, you have to show it to your classmate. Work together to look closely at the sentences in the story and to look closely at your own sentences, and you have to look your classmate's sentence carefully, and you have to also observe your own sentences. Work together to make sure each sentence is correct, and work together with your classmates and make sure that each sentence is written in a correct form. Now what's happened? Did you both get all the punctuation correct? Did you both, you and your classmate, get all the punctuation mark correctly? If not, what can you change to correct it? If any mistakes is there, and then to correct that mistake, what can you do? You have to write here where is the mistake and what to do, how to do it correct. Okay, you have to write here all the things. Now next thing, Imagine that the head cook asks one of his helpers what he should do with the vegetables, and that the helper makes a suggestion. If think about that, just you have to imagine that. Imagine that the head cook asked one of his helper. Head cook asked one of his helper, other cook, what he should do with the vegetables, and that the helpers make a suggestion. Here helper make a suggestion here. Work with a classmate to write a new question and answer. Be careful to use the punctuation that you see in the story. And while you are writing that conversation between head cook and helper, you have to follow the rules and regulation of punctuation mark, quotation mark, interrogative question mark. So all the things you have to observe and do use properly in your sentences. So for example, I write here conversation between the head cook and the helper. Just you have to complete it in your textbook. Just see here. The head cook asked his helper, what should we do with the leftover the vegetables? First of all, head cook asked his helper, what should we do with the leftover the vegetables? Then helper replied that we should cut them in a different slices or bites and strips and arrange them color-wise to make a piece of art, and the king would be pleased to watch it. The helper replied. What suggestion helper give here? Helper give here, it said that cut them in a different slice. First give that type of suggestion, or bites and stripes. Okay, arrange them color wise. Then after we have to arrange them as a color wise to make a piece of art. Here, and the king would be pleased to watch it. Can you understand? Here helper one example as an example. Here one helper gives suggestion to head cook what to do with that scrap. Can you understand, student? Here now you have to complete this thing in your textbook. Now here our activity number third over. Okay, now activity number 4th we have to do. Activity number 4th, what is this? We have to understand about it. The story lists the vegetables that the cook had in the basket of scraps. The story lists the vegetables. Here we can see that in activity number 2nd we see the different types of leftover things list in that story. Leftover vegetables listed there that the cook had in the basket of scrap. What is this? There was only a little bit of yam, plantain, cucumber and potato. What is the list here? List is given here. See, a little bit of yam, then plantain, then cucumber and potato. So here list we can see that. There was a small carrot. Here also a small carrot, a handful of green beans and a few chilies. So all the list is given here. Observe that list. How it is written. Can you see that? All the items is differented by the commas. See here. Everything is differented through commas. Everywhere. Just see here. Comma. So everywhere it is differented with commas. Now what we have to note? We have to understand next thing. Find the other sentences in the story that makes a list. Notice the punctuation that separates the word in the list. Find the other sentences in the story that makes a list like that type of list. Notice the punctuation that separate the words in a list. You have to notice the punctuation mark which separate the list. Look carefully at the sentences and make a new sentence that lists at least 4 items you have in your home. We have to make a list of 4 items we can see in our house, in our home. Just we have to make a list here. So I make a list here with 3 things. Just see. In my home, there are a sofa set. Here one thing. a sofa set. Then second, a dining table. And third thing, and chairs. So I make a list with the three things at my home: a sofa set, comma, a dining table, and chairs. So I write here my list, my home's list. Can you understand, student? You have to complete it in your textbook. If you find anything new at your home, you have to make a list here. Now next thing we have to understand about it. Share your list sentence with your classmate. Work together to look closely at the sentences in the story and to look closely at your own sentences. You have to see your classmate's sentence and you have to observe your sentence also. Work together to make sure each sentence is correct, and you have to work together to make sure each sentence is correct. Now next thing is that, did you both get all punctuation correct? If not, what can you change to correct it? If you completed all the punctuation mark correctly, then it's okay. If you not, then what can you change to correct it, and how you change that sentences, change that list to correct it. As you know, students, in your lower classes you studied about punctuation and capitalization in your grammar textbook, English grammar. Punctuation and capitalization. We studied about interrogative sentences, question mark, full stop, comma, everything in our lower classes grammar textbook. So just we have to follow that rules here and we have to make a list. Can you understand, student? Now activity number 5 we have to do. Activity number 5 is actually second part of activity number 2. In activity number 2, a new dish part 1 we completed. Here in activity number 5, we have to do a new dish part 2. A new dish part 2. So our story will be continued here. In part 1, we stopped our story when Maharaja of Travancore said to use that scrap things in a different way. Okay, after that what's happened we have to understand in part 2. Let's start it. The cook stepped out, looked up at the tree. Now what's happened we have to understand about. The cook stepped outside, looked up at the tree, and suddenly he had an idea. At that last sentence of part 1, can you understand? Outside one tree is there, coconut tree. In that coconut tree, ripen coconut is there. So we studied in part 1 last sentence. Now what's happened? Continue part here. The cook stepped outside, looked up at the tree, and suddenly he had an idea. And suddenly one idea emerged in his mind. Now what's happened? He took all the vegetable bits, washed them, cleaned them with well, and cut them into long strips. Now what's happened? He took all the vegetables bits, all the scrap of vegetables he took. Okay, he took bits means here new word is given here, bits means pieces. He take all the vegetables pieces, washed them all the things, cleaned them well, all the pieces of vegetables, and cut them into long strips, and cut them all the things into long strips. Here strips means what? Strips means a long flat narrow piece. लंबी टुकड़े करना, लंबा टुकड़ा करना is known as strips. He put them all into a huge pot. Now he put them all into a huge pot. Pot means everybody knows about pot, ghado, and placed it on the fire to cook. And that pot placed it on the fire to cook. Now he put that pot on the fire to cooking that strips, long strips. Next, he ground the fresh coconut. After that, what's happened? He ground the fresh coconut. He bring the fresh coconut from the coconut tree and ground it. Ground means what? To make a dust type of. to ground. Grind, it's a past form of grind. Grind means દળવું, જેને કહે દળવું, crush કરવું. Here he ground the fresh coconut. He added green chilies, garlic and some salt. Now after that grounding that coconut, he added green chilies in that paste, then garlic also added and some salt also added. All the things added and make a paste of coconut. Can you understand, student, here? Now what's happened? Now next thing we have to understand. Soon the vegetables were all cooked. At that time that pot is put on fire. Now vegetables were cooked. He stirred in the coconut and plenty of curd, poured on some coconut oil and sprinkled it all with curry leaves. Now what's happened? Now next step is there. Soon the vegetables were all cooked. He stirred. Stirred means stirred means here. He stirred in the coconut and plenty of curd. Stirred means to mix up. Here to mix up in the coconut paste and plenty of curd. Here he added here plenty of curd. After that, in the coconut paste, he added plenty of curd. Here curd means what? દહીં જેને આપણે કહીએ તે. He added curd in that paste of coconut, poured on some coconut oil, and he also added some coconut oil in that paste and sprinkled it all with curry leaves. And at last he sprinkled it all with curry leaves. Curry leaves means મીઠા પાંદડા, મીઠો લીમડાના પાંદડાઓ જેને આપણે કહીએ તો curry leaves. He sprinkled it all with a curry leaves. Can you understand, student, how it make? Now next thing we have to understand. The new dish was ready, and now the new dish was ready to serve. The cook served his invention to the guest that evening, and then cook served his new invention, new dish to the guest that evening came at home. Okay, the guest loved it, and guest loved it very much. Guest loved it, that new dish. The king liked it so much that he gave the cook a beautiful gold bracelet as a reward. And the king liked it so much that he gave the cook what gave? A beautiful gold bracelet to the as a reward to the head cook. Can you understand? Looking that new dish made by the head cook, king pleased so much and he gave a beautiful gold bracelet as a reward to the head cook. Now next thing we have to understand. Everyone was eager to know the name of the new dish. Now everyone was eager to know that the name of a new dish. This new dish name. Want to listen to one. Everybody want to listen which dish is that. They want to listen the name of that new dish. The cook thought and thought. The new dish don't have any name. So the cook thought and thought. What could he call this mixture of many things? Now head cook is thinking about that. What could he call this mixture of many things? Then he thought of it. After that long thinking, he thought of it in the name. He named the dish avial. And then after at last thinking, he gave the name of that new dish is there, avial. Avial became famous all over Kerala and is now one of the dishes in traditional feast of Kerala. And from that time, avial became the famous all over the Kerala and is now one of the favorite dish of during the traditional feast of Kerala. During the festival season, people make that dish in Kerala. It's known as a avial. Isn't it amazing that it all came from a basket of scraps and a good idea? Isn't an amazing thing that it's a amazing things happen that it came from a basket of scraps. It's a leftover things of vegetables, and with that leftover things, good idea mixed up and it become a new dish. It's known as a FVL. Can you understand, student? Here our part second over a new dish story over here. Everybody understand about it? So here our fifth activity over. Now remaining activity we have to do in our next video. Students, here unit 4th, trace to treasure, activity number 5th, new words is given here. You have to complete all these new words in your fair notebook. Okay, after activity number seconds, we write a new words. After that, give heading activity number 5th, a new dish, part 2nd, new words heading, and then write all the new words in your fair notebook. Can you understand, student, now? So complete your work timely with our videos. Okay?
Thank you for joining us